Hello everyone, Professor Harris here. Welcome back to COM121, Introduction to Mass Media. Today we're going to be going over your Assignment 5, Communication through Digital Photo Compositing. So, you've already selected your images, you've compiled your work, you've taken a picture of yourself from the side, and you're ready to do your composite. If you have selected your images, or haven't finished that yet, again, you're going to need to take a picture similar or identical to these, and you're going to want to get an image. You can either take one or you can find one on a stock website like Unsplash here. Unsplash here is an open platform for photographers, and they have many awesome pictures. Just to show you what I'm going to be using today, I'm going to be using a picture of a cabin on the lake, and these are the quality of images you can expect here from Unsplash. I've chosen this image because I have built cabins in the past, and I aspire to either stay somewhere like this with a lake in the mountains and so on, or build a cabin somewhere like this as well. So those fall in line with my aspirations, and this is the image I'll be using for my composite. So you're gonna gather your project assets here in a file, and this is going to be kind of your ground zero. Make sure that the contents of this file and the projects that you save to this file are sent to yourself, or you have backups of it. You will need to recall these files later in the semester for a different project, so please be aware of that. If you're working in one of the labs on campus, or if you're working in your local library, make sure you have a hard drive or flash drive, or obviously connection to the internet to send these files to yourself, so again you have access to them later. Let's go ahead and hop straight into Photoshop. Alright, so this is what Photoshop is going to look like when you first sit down. You're going to want to start by clicking a new file. And then what I'd like you to do is use a landscape preset, and you can change the dimensions of that. We're today going to be using 6 by 4. So 6 in the width and 4 in the height. And then I definitely want you to keep the resolution at 300 pixels per inch. Make sure you're selected on 300 pixels per inch. We're going to name this project now, and then you'll just scroll down here and click create. Wonderful. So first thing we're going to do before we start getting in anything is we're going to make sure that your workspace and my workspace, as far as the settings and what we're looking at, look the same. So you're going to come up here to Windows or Window, and you're going to go to Workspace, and you're going to click Essentials Default. This will reset wherever you're at to look like what we're working with here. Same settings on the sides and the top and the bottom. Okay, so now that we've got that taken care of, we're going to go ahead and import our project aspects or assets into the composite. So you'll start by grabbing the photo of your profile, or photo from the side, and you'll just simply drag and drop it straight into Photoshop. Now, you get these adjusters. You're in the free transform as soon as you drop an image in, so you can grab these handles. If you grab these handles and make adjustments, you're going to notice if you're not perfectly on track, you're going to distort your image. The way to avoid this is to hold shift. If you hold shift, it will lock your image into the proper ratio, and you can increase and decrease it. I'm going to increase mine slightly here so that my face is larger on the screen. I'm going to slide myself to the left a little bit so that I have some looking space for this project. I don't want to be too far to the right looking off screen. I don't want to be centered. That's kind of awkward. So we're going to put me just to the left here. Wonderful. Right about, we're going to go there. Awesome. Now once you're finished, once you have your face in a place that you like on the screen, you can come up here to this check mark and hit yes, approve, and it will lock that image into its proper location. Quickly before we begin, I'd like to add a background. There's already a background. If there's not already a background, that's fine. You can simply ignore this, especially because it's locked. You can unlock it if you want, but for the sake of this project, just leave it be. We're going to create a new adjustments layer here. And mine's being funny, it's making this scroll down, but we're going to select solid color, and then we're going to go ahead and take this slider, slide it clear over to the right, straight to white, and click OK. So make sure you're set to true white. Hello, Professor Harris here from the future. Wanted to interrupt myself here real quick. that video was recorded last year, and unfortunately, Photoshop went and updated a bunch of the different tools. So tools that I can see aren't showing up for other people. But to start, I would like to say that you should make sure that your workspace is set to Essentials default. That's going to make sure that things look similar on my end, that look similar on yours. And then when it comes to your images, I noticed people were having problems recently about their images being smart objects. You don't have to understand what that means, but all you have to know is that if you see this symbol on your image, that means that it's a smart object. So the way that we can make this not a smart object is by right-clicking in this area, not over here, not on the text, in this area. We can right-click, and then we could do rasterize layer, and that's going to make this not a smart object. So going forward, you don't have to worry about, you won't understand this, but make sure that that little symbol isn't there, and if it is, again, right-click, and then do rasterize layer. Sweet. And then you're done there. All right, let's separate my face from the rest of this background, right? We don't need the rest of this image. So you're gonna go up here to the left to the quick selection tool. Okay, wait a minute. Well, you're looking at your interface and you're going, I don't have a quick selection tool. Where is my quick selection tool? Well, it's hiding under this. The symbol might look like this. This is the object selection tool. This is a new feature with Photoshop. If you select this, you can hover over and it's gonna make this auto selection of what you wanna grab. I'm going to say like 8 times out of 10, this is sufficient. So I could just click this and boom, it would make a selection of that whole area. It's going to load here for a second and we have a magic selection of all of that. And it does a pretty good job. It's missing things like my eyelash and some of my flyaways that maybe I wanted to include, but this tool is very, very powerful. Now, if you didn't want that selection, you can hit Command D or Control D. That will deselect your selection. But if you're trying to get to the quick selection tool, you can right click this and then you'll get this window, this drop down. We can get the quick selection tool and click on it. Make sure that when you click on the quick selection tool that it is set to add to selection, not subtract from selection, that it's set to add to selection. Then you'll simply click within the area of your head and face and it's going to make a quick selection of the region. Now I want a little bit more of my hair because I've got some kind of flyaways here, so I'll select about that much. Now it's not always perfect, so what you should do is zoom up, and if you have a pad in front of you, you can just zoom in with your fingers. If not, you can use the Command plus or Control plus and Control minus keys on your keyboard to zoom in and out. I've noticed that it likes to skip over my eyebrow here, so I'm going to include my eyebrow in our composite, and also a little bit of my nose. It doesn't like my nose as much, so we'll get all of that taken care of and we'll zoom right back out. All right, so now we've made our selection. We've got all of my person selected. Let's say I accidentally selected too much. You can go to the Deselect tool. Let's say I didn't want to include my nose for some reason. I can slide the Deselect tool over my nose and start removing parts of my nose, but we won't do that. If at any point you make a mistake or you did something that you didn't want to, you can always hit Control Z or Command Z, and that will undo whatever action you've previously done. So if you screw up your project, you feel like you've destroyed it, and there's no saving it, there's always saving it. You can hit Command Z or Control Z and undo that at any time. All right, so we've got our selection. So what I'm going to do, making sure that I'm selected on my image and that I've got my selection going around, I'm going to hit Command J or Control J, and that's going to make a duplicate image. So now, if we turn off the visibility of this image here, we'll see that the background has been removed for this top image. And we actually don't need this image anymore. So once you separate this image from the other one, you won't need this bottom image. So you can go ahead and click on it and click the backspace or delete key on your keyboard. Or you can highlight it and then click delete here, and it will delete it from your project. Awesome. All right, now we want to add the secondary photo to our composite. So we're going to go back to our project assets bin, and we're going to click on the image, and then again, you're just going to drag and drop. There, you have to wait for that little green plus icon to show up, and then you know it's going to properly drag and drop. All right, so this isn't going to work because I can't see what I'm doing. I can't see where my face is going to end up as far as my composite. So if you come over here to the right and slide the opacity down to the point that we can see what's going on, I can maybe around 50%. I can now move this image by simply clicking on it and sliding it around, trying to decide what I want to be within the shape of my head. I'm going to flip this. So I'm going to right click on it and do flip horizontal to get the cabin onto the right side, because I'd like it to be here and I'd like the mountain there to roughly be at the top of my head. So I'm going to click the corner and hold shift. I'm going to increase the image and then adjust. And this is the kind of click and play part where you're trying to say, okay, is that right? And you can drag out any corner to continually make the image bigger or smaller. Maybe a little bit bigger here. All right, something like that. And then once you're done making those adjustments, you can go ahead and slide the opacity back up to 100 here on the right. If you can't slide it here, you can always enter the value by typing it directly into the keyboard. All right, so we've set it back to 100 and we're finished, so we'll hit the check mark here. Now I'd like to get the kind of mask going on the second layer for the mountain. So we're going to click while holding Control or Command, depending where you're at, and then clicking on this layer. It'll make a selection of the pixels around your face or your profile. So now we can see that pixel selection. So we'll click the image above it, and then we'll hit this button down here. We're going to add a layer mask, and that's going to crop out everything except our selected region. So now you should see a profile composited of your face and the mountains, which is awesome. Next thing we're going to do here is we're going to make actually a duplicated version of this again. So you'll click on this picture, and you'll hit Command J or Control J, depending on what platform you're on, and you'll drag that new second image. Ignore that, I didn't mean to double click and open that. You'll drag that second image above, and then we're going to change the mode. So we're going to change the mode here from normal to lighten. Now we should start to see my face come through. Next step is you're going to desaturate your images. So we want this image and this image to become black and white. So making sure you're selected on one, you're going to come up here to Image, Adjustments, and then you'll scroll down here to Desaturate, and it will make it black and white. You do the same thing for the bottom image. Select it, go to Image, Adjustments, and then down to Desaturate. Now we got the images desaturated. You're going to select this top image here, and you're going to add another layer mask. And with this layer mask, you're going to actually start revealing the canvas behind. So if you come over here to the brush tool, you just select on that. Make sure you're set to the right brush. You can select either here or here to pick through your brushes. You're going to want a softer brush. We're currently set on the soft round 30, and that's what we're going to stick with. So we'll select the soft round 30, and we'll go ahead and shrink that. We can also set the opacity of the brush, so how hard it presses and alters. You're definitely going to want to keep that at 40%. To make the brush bigger, you can either, I believe you can click the bracket keys just underneath the plus and minus keys on your keyboard are the bracket keys. If you click the right bracket, it will get larger with each tap. The left one will make it smaller. There's also sliders, but for now we're going to use these bracket keys. So increase your brush size to about there, and then we're going to start taking away. Now the way masks work is with black and white. So this is where your black and white is set. Black removes and white adds. So with us set to black, if I start clicking in here, we'll see that it starts to reveal the image underneath. If I switch it back to white, it's going to start adding back. So we're going to leave it at black because I'd like to see less of my ear in this composite. And we'll make it right about there. Maybe we'll undo that last one. All right. And now it becomes kind of a balance between adding and subtracting. Where do we want to see the cabin in the background? Where do we want to see the face? And you can switch between these two mask layers here and make those adjustments. So let's say I wanted to add more of the visibility of my face and my jawline. I could select on this mountain layer and do that. I'm going to, being selected on my mountain image and on my layer mask specifically, set to black, I'm going to bring back in my shirt by kind of spam clicking here, because I'd like to see the secondary image only show up in my head space and there around and above. So I'll just click around here until we slowly see all of that disappear. Wonderful. I'm going to slip it back now and see if I can't reveal a little bit more. No, didn't want to do that. All right. Let's switch back to my face. And again, now we're on the white, and we can reveal a little bit more. Okay, sweet. Now, from here, what would be awesome to set some more theme to your composite is to select your background, not this background, but your background color fill 1. If you double click this color, it'll come up with this color selector. And if you drag your mouse off the color selector, you get the eyedrop tool, and you can start kind of absorbing colors from your canvas. I'm going to go with a lighter blue today, maybe a little bit lighter, a little softer, a little lighter. There we go. And I like that color. And once you've picked a color for kind of your background that you like, you can just scroll over here and click OK. Now, this is where we get into the more artistic side. We essentially have the composite finished, but if you have an image that can have some fancy bleed over, like I do, I have mountains and clouds that I could bring into this image and more trees. So what I'll do is I'll select on the mountain image, I'll select on the layer mask specifically, and then making sure my brush is set to white. I'm going to click Control Z on that. I'm going to increase the size quite a bit, and I'm going to just going to run down the right side and then run a little over the top and then tap on the left. So now we're starting to see the rest of the image come in. I'm going to decrease the size of my brush so I can semi-increase the intensity, and from here I can kind of make strokes to start bleeding my head, the top of my head, from the background into the foreground. I'm going to increase my brush a little bit and blend that out a little better. Maybe do one more pass here on the right side. And a little bit on the left and the upper right. Sorry, the upper left. And there you have it. That is what I would consider a finished composite project. All right, so now you're asking yourself, well, how do I save this project? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to come up to the upper left corner. This is both universal on Mac and PC. So you'll click File, and you're going to click Save As. This is going to save your project as a Photoshop file, also known as a PSD. So Save As, and you can name your project. Now, it's going to ask you if you want to save it on the cloud, if you're signed in and whatnot. Just don't do that. Down here on the left, you want to click on your computer. You're going to want to save it on your computer. It's going to give you the benefits of saving on the cloud. Ignore that. Save on your computer again, and then it'll take you to the navigation bar. So the format it's saving as is a Photoshop. That's good. So it says B. Harris PSD. I'm going to navigate over to my Project 5 assets where we were last time, and I'm going to click Save. And then OK. And that's going to save this Photoshop file directly to my assets bin here on my desktop. And if this is on your flash drive, then save it there as well. So there it is, my B. Harris PSD, but that is not an image file. That is a Photoshop document file. So if I tried to open that, it would open me right back up to here, and this is not an image. To save this as an image, we're going to File, and then you can do Export, and you can export it as, and it'll give you all kinds of settings. And for the sake of this class, we're going to do JPG. Make sure you're set to JPG. You can leave all the other settings the same. Come down here and click export. Now it's going to give you a location. You're going to save it to the same location. We're going to scroll over here to Project 5 Assets, and we're going to save it here as well. So click Save, and it will save this as a JPEG to our assets file right here. And there we have it, B. Harris JPEG, and we can click and open that image and see our beautiful composite. It's this JPEG that you'll upload to the discussion board, but make sure again that you're saving all your project assets. You will need your PSD in the future. All right, that's everything you need to know about this project. I hope you guys get creative with it. Feel free to incorporate different elements as you see fit. I just want it to be creative. Awesome. All right.